Baseball players, welcome to another edition of Apollo Sports Council Incorporated YouTube Talk. I am Brian Armstead Jr. And we want to speak to you guys today about anxiety. Anxiety is a big part of baseball. And really, man, I want to speak about it because, many times as baseball players, we don't know how to kind of calm ourselves down before games, at bats, fielding plays, the whole nine. So, it's really important that we address that because it is something that happens and is very prevalent in the sport of baseball. So first and foremost, let's address what exactly anxiety is. Now, anxiety could be the feeling of nervousness, uneasy kind of feeling, and it's usually about an event, right? It's usually about an event and the fear of an outcome. Now, I kind of nickname anxiety to be your body's response to a fearful future. So you don't know what exactly the outcome is going to be. You want it to be a good outcome because you put the work in. You took your swings in the cages. You've caught endless ground balls. You've caught lots of pop-ups. You've worked on base running. You went through the signs a million times, and now you're afraid that you're going to miss one. So it's kind of your body's response to a fearful future. Now, some of the symptoms that are involved with anxiety, they include your physical body being uneasy with your mind. So I want to tell you guys a story now about the warthog and the lion. Okay, now the story goes where it's a warthog and he's in the desert. Right, he's in the desert, the rainforest. He's in the meadowlands, and he sees a lion on the other side of the field, maybe about 40 yards away, 30 to 40 yards away, and he sees him. But his pupils get larger and his peripheral vision becomes totally eradicated. And that's because he has a focus on what's in front of him now. And his heart starts racing, and he has to kick his mind into, the flight, freeze, or fight. So flight, freeze, or fight response. And what that is basically is that your amygdala has detected a threat to you, and it's kind of triggered. And then what the amygdala is a small portion in the middle of your brain that's right next to the hippocampus, which controls your memory. The amygdala controls your emotions, whether you are happy, sad, mad, right? The amygdala controls all of that, but it also controls fear. So the amygdala has sent a signal throughout your body, and it's detected a threat. So once it detects the threat, that's when it kicks itself into the adrenaline being exposed throughout your body, and it kicks yourself into the flight, fright, freeze. I can't get it out today. Your flight, fright, or freeze responses. And so your heart starts racing, your breathing starts getting a lot larger and larger. It speeds up, your lungs expand, your blood vessels become, dilated to make sure that the proper blood is moving throughout your body to get to your muscles in order to react, right? And so going back to the warthog and lion, the warthog has to make a decision at that point whether it's going to leave or whether it's going to stay there and fight or whether it's going to just freeze up. So, we all have things that we are afraid of, right? So with me, it would be, let's say a huge snake comes on the floor right now. Well, in my mind, I have to figure out, am I going to leave or am I going to stay here and fight? And so my pupils are going to be totally enlarged, and my peripheral vision is going to go totally eradicated and totally blank because I have to focus on what's in front of me now. So if you ever find yourself in a game and you are, your head's racing, you can't get your thoughts together, and you can only focus on what's in front of you instead of focusing on what's around you, then that could be a symptom of anxiety. Now, in terms of statistics of anxiety in athletes, they did a survey, and they asked certain certified athletic trainers to tell them about, the athletes and have they experienced anxiety. 85% of them said that they have. 85%. Certified athletic trainers said that 85% of the athletes have experienced anxiety before games. That's a lot. That's almost 100%. On a baseball team where you have 9 starting on the field, that's equivalent to one person, maybe two, that's not experiencing anxiety before that game. So can you guys imagine that? Right? It's 9 people on the field that's starting, and the only people that's not, afraid of a fearful outcome is the right fielder or the center fielder, or and the rest of the team is just scared out of their mind because they don't know whether they're going to win or whether they're going to perform. Now, an actual fact is that 67% of all athletes experience anxiety. So again, when you break it down from a baseball aspect, again, with the 9 being on the field starting, imagine that all but 3 players are afraid and out of their minds about the outcome of the game, whether they're going to miss a sign, whether the bunt is called and you can't get it down the third baseline or the first baseline, whether it's bottom of the 9th inning and it's a full count and you guys are the home team and you're down by 1 with a runner on second and third, and there's a fastball coming in and you have to put a good swing on it to shoot it in the gap somewhere or at least hit it down the line. That right there can trigger your mind and your body to become uneasy with each other, and have you feeling very anxious about your outcome. Now, going back to some baseball examples. Sometimes as baseball players, we tend to be uneasy about certain games coming up. So, for example, we might have a game on Friday, and it might be the state playoffs. First game of the playoffs, and this is our senior year. We want to make sure that we are putting forth our best effort. We want to make sure that we have all of our baseball players, we tend to be superstitious a lot. So we certain times we might do things before the game, and this one particular time, we might not be able to do that same thing we've been doing throughout the season before every game. So now we feel anxious about, how am I going to play? Am I going to go 0 for 3? Am I going to get a hit today? Am I going to make an error? As a pitcher, am I going to locate today? Am I going to hit my spots? Is my curveball going to be on today? As a catcher, you're thinking, how big is the backstop? Am I going to keep everything in front of me today? Am I going to get the correct signs from the pitching coach or the head coach today? So, I mean, it's a lot of things that we can experience when we're out there on the baseball field that have a lot to do with anxiety and feeling uneasy mentally as well as physically. Some of the microscopic areas about feeling anxiety as a baseball player is, right before at bats. Right before at bats, because we know last time we struck out on an 0-2 curveball. So we want to make sure we take away that outside corner so that we can catch the break. So before he throws that curveball, we're already on the outside corner preparing for it and let it get deep and hit it the other way to right field or left field if you're a lefty. So it's those microscopic things as well as the macro things, whether you are playing before the games or whether you are before at bats. And also another thing too is before the actual defensive plays. I remember at times when I was in college and playing second base and shortstop, I would see a ground ball coming towards me, and my mind would be racing as I'm seeing the ground ball coming towards me. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, Jesus, I hope I catch this ground ball and throw him out, because I know how many ground balls I've taken in practice. I spent 2 hours taking hundreds of ground balls preparing for this one moment, so I don't want to mess it up. It's situations like that we have to be conscious about while we're out there on the field as baseball players. So you have a microscopic level, you have a macroscopic level, you have a meso, right? The macro being the wide variety of baseball, the wide variety of the games that you're playing. Say you have a game on Friday night, like I said before, and you've been preparing since Monday for it. The meso would be, you have an at bat that you're trying to do well in. The micro will be winning every pitch. Winning every single pitch, right? And understanding that every single pitch is a fight. I've heard players such as Juan Soto say that he every time he's up there and he's hitting, it's literally a fight between him and the pitcher, and that's why he's so intense when he's up there. Players like Joey Votto who use their hands. Players like Kyle Lewis who plays for the Seattle Mariners who use their hands. Hall of Famers like Tony Gwynn, who if you get him in the 0-2 count or a 3-2 count or a 1-2 count, any count with 2 strikes, you're probably not going to get him out because he's going to use his hands and he's going to spray the ball to the opposite field, and he's going to be a tough out, right? He's not donating outs. So, many players have certain rituals they do, but let's talk about it from a mental health side of things and things that we could do as baseball players when we are before the games or, while we're in the locker room still preparing to go out on the field and get prepared for in and out before games. And these are mindfulness activities. It's a breathing technique, right? So what you want to do is you want to breathe in for 6 seconds, you want to hold it for 6, and you want to breathe out for 6. You want to breathe in for 6, you want to hold it for 3, and you want to breathe out for 6, right? So you breathe in for 6, you hold it for 3, and you breathe out for another 6. And what that does is that reprograms the mind. That reprograms your way of thinking. It calms your emotions down to allow your body to catch up to your mind. Okay? So it slows everything down and allows you to successfully participate in the game and allows you to kind of clear your head. We all know that as baseball players, you cannot play the game tensed up. You have to play loose. You've got to play where you won't make mental mistakes. We all know that baseball is a mental game. So mental mistakes happen when your mind is not completely cleared. So you want to do your best to clear everything, all your mind and everything before you play the game of baseball. Certain things I used to do when I was coming up in high school as well as college is I used to go to sleep before games. And I don't mean go to sleep for an hour before while we're on the bus on the way to the game. I mean, I used to go to sleep in the dugout. We're the away team. I used to go to sleep in the dugout with my helmet on 5 or 10 minutes before we threw out the first pitch. And my teammates knew, okay, he's sleeping, he's clearing his mind, right? But that allowed me to kind of calm my emotions down and allowed me to, just play loose. Other baseball players, they tend to take deep breaths. If you ever watch certain players before their at bats, they take deep breaths. So they step out in between pitches, and they take deep breaths. And again, this allows the mind to kind of calm down. It allows the mind to calm down and allows the body to catch up with the mind. So then you're hitting, and you're able to think clearly about, okay, what exactly is the pitcher trying to do to me? Hitting is a chess match. That's all it is. It's your best move against the pitcher's best move. You have players like Ken Griffey Sr., Bobby Bonds, who used to miss pitches on purpose just so that the pitcher could throw that same pitch, and then they would attack it and execute, right? But breathing is one of those things that allows you to take a step back and really think about taking your at bat a pitch at a time and really winning your at bat every single pitch, because again, every single pitch is a fight. You have other things that baseball players do, such as eating or chewing things. Many baseball players are big on chewing gum. If you watch a professional Major League Baseball game, in the dugout they have these big, huge tubs of bubble gum. And those are for the players to chew because it takes your mind off the intensity of the game, But it allows your mind to be relieved of tension. You have sunflower seeds. Many players keep a bunch of sunflower seeds in their back pocket, and they consistently pop sunflower seeds in when they're either on defense or when they're, some of them pop them when they're hitting, when they're at bats. So, there are certain things that we do as baseball players that can take our minds off of the intensity of the game and the intensity of an at bat or playing defense. You see players like Robinson Cano who consistently chew sunflower seeds. Brandon Phillips consistently chew gum. So, those are certain things that baseball players can do to take their minds off of, not being anxious, if you will. There are also certain rituals that we do before we go up and we hit when we're in our at bats. You see certain players like Ronald Acuna who go up and they draw in the dirt before they approach home plate. And that right there is a ritual, but it also slows the game down for them. And it allows them to think the game through. I remember, back in the day, well, I say back in the day, but in the early 2000s and late 90s, you had Nomar Garciaparra, who used to do the thing with his batting gloves. And that for him was allowing him to clear his mind and think the game through. Think about every single pitch that, okay, the pitcher's throwing me an inside curveball. What is he going to come back with next? Okay, the pitcher just threw me a 2-2 curveball in the outside corner, and he missed. Now it's 3-2. He's probably not going to come back with that. Or it's 1-2. He missed with an inside changeup. He's going to come back with the fastball, I know, or something that he's confident in because he doesn't want to go 2-2 to me or 3-2 to me because he doesn't want to get himself deep in that count where he could walk me possibly. So, there are a lot of things, practice swings. Baseball players also do a lot of practice swings, in between pitches to calm the game down. People say you get better in baseball when you're able to calm the game down and slow it up. You slow the game up and you're able to see things more clearly as they're coming to you. So, baseball is a game where, we've got to calm it down, if you will. And many times before games and before, practices even, or before at-bats, before ground balls or we've caught ground balls, we have to we have to be able to see things. We have to be able to see things. And so, baseball is one of those things, that anxiety is very, very prevalent. And again, just going back to 85% of all athletes and putting it in perspective from a baseball aspect, imagine that 1 or 2 players on the field are scared out of their minds about an outcome of the game. Are they going to play well? Are they going to miss a sign? Are they going to get a hit? Can they lay the bunt down? Can they turn two? Many times as an infield, I played infield, so many times as an infielder, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to catch the ball, but am I going to make a good throw? So, you want to make sure that you're able to eradicate certain things from the mind and slow the game down. And many ways to do that is the mindfulness techniques, breathing in deeply for a count of 6, holding it for 3, and then breathing out for 6. Right? That allows you to shut shut all of the other thoughts down and kind of quiet your mind down and reset the mind. Okay? Also, other players, they tend to, chew gum or chew sunflower seeds. Some players chew mouthpieces. I've seen that as well. So, again, man, baseball is one of those games where we have to slow it down. Okay? So, we thank you guys for being with us today. And again, this is Baseball and Anxiety. So, have a great season, guys. And remember to slow the game down. And remember, through it all, win.